Hey all, welcome to Barnello Creative. For the last month and a half or so, I've been slowly but surely working on this Heavy Mandalorian concept armor that I've been interested in cosplaying. I've got most of the parts together. I've printed on my 3D printer most of the armor pieces. I made the helmet. The helmet's good to go. It's ready to roll. And the soft parts are slowly but surely coming together. One of the things that I want to do right now is take a break from some of the work on the armor that I've been doing and take a few minutes and do some of the weathering on the flight suit for the costume. What that's going to entail is basically slapping a whole bunch of paint on there. So with that, I will jump in and we will get started. My helmet is already finished weathering. I've painted this up and like I said, it's pretty much done. So I want to show what I did for the weathering on the helmet. I started off with a light spray of acrylic paint that I use for a lot of my terrain and such. What this did was kind of twofold. One, it muddied it up a little bit and made it look a little bit mucky. But the other thing that it did is the water dried and made all of these kind of white looking splotches on the paint itself. You can see some of them on the crown of it there. I want to do that with the soft parts and the rest of the armor as well. Yeah, you can see it grimed it up pretty good right there. Before I even did it with any fine detail work, that's how the paint dried on there, and it turned it into this really kind of murky, muddy white color. So that came out really well. I want to do that. And then I finished it off with my airbrush. And I actually used a brown wash on the air wash for this kind of dirt looking spot in here. And then inside of all of the low spots as well. I hit that with that brown and it made it have some more depth to the color. So I'll be doing that as well after I'm done with the washes. The washes themselves, it's just a mix of acrylic paint in water with just a teeny bit of soap in there, and I think the soap is really what made the white color show up. But this is just a spray bottle I got at the dollar store, and I mixed up some black and some brown, and we can spritz it right on there. So let's give it a shot. So the flight suit is a Dickies jumpsuit that I just got off of the old Amazon. And I actually, for this, what's called the flak vest, which is where all the armor gets attached to, I've got some Velcro strips that are attached there that you can just use the Velcro to attach your armor plates like so. However, I don't know yet if that's going to be the final way that I end up attaching this or not. I still haven't decided. It's going to depend on how all that armor actually sits on there. So if I do end up using the Velcro, then it's already good to go. Otherwise, I'll just pull all that off. But the flak vest is a addition that all of the Mandalorian costumes are required to have based on the Mandalorian Merc's costume requirements, which I do plan on submitting this once it's done. And they said that you can use one of these tactical vests pretty much off the shelf for the post-Imperial costumes, which this one will be. So I'm planning to do that. I don't need to make any modifications, and I didn't have to make this. This was relatively inexpensive, just getting it off of the old Amazon as well. That being said, I'm never going to have the flight suit on without the flak jacket on, so I don't think that I need to weather underneath this in the chest and stomach area, or even on the back, because you'll always have the armor on. So I don't believe there's a lot of incentive for me to do any fine detailed weathering underneath there. I may try to get in and around, the edges here and on the shoulders where it could potentially slide around a little bit. And then the other thing is that the mannequin that this is on is not the same size as me. Obviously, as you can see, I'm quite a bit bigger than this boy is. But, all those things aside, I think this will do a good job of getting us into the weathering, even without having to take the flak vest off of the mannequin, which, to be honest with you, is kind of a pain in the butt. So, let's dig right in. I'm just going to go ahead and start going to town with this. The spray bottle, there's a pretty light amount of paint in there, so I'm not too worried about overdoing it, certainly not in the first get-go. All we're really trying to do here is muddy things up a bit. And the vest, I may end up having to do a little bit more than just paint. I might have to beat that up a little bit. I don't think I'm going to need to do that with the flight suit itself, because the flight suit is pretty soft material already. Dickies is pretty sturdy, but usually it comes pretty well worn in before you start to abuse it. So I'm just going here, I'm going to go generally over the whole thing with a fine bit of this spray. And then I'll work in probably with the brown, I'll do some more of the spots where you would see a different level of weathering. The armpits, the crotch, the knees and elbows, that kind of stuff will get a little bit more attention from the brown. Alright, so that's the black. Moving on, we're going to do the brown, and like I said, we're going to focus the concentration of it on the spots where you'll be able to see more brown. So the neck, where you would imagine that there's going to be some sweat and dirt and grime around the neck, in the armpit areas, in the crotch area, and then, you know, some of the other spots where there may be some collection. There's a little bit more contrast you can see in areas like this where it's starting to get more red. That kind of browning of this is exactly what I'm looking for. And you might not be able to see it that well from here, but the water is transferring quite a bit of brown onto the cloth as well. So we'll just keep with that. I think that's quite a bit better than I thought it was going to be already. Got this rather large space underneath the arm where you'll have the armor on this side and then the back plate back here. And anytime your arms are above this level, right, whenever they're being brought up here or higher, you're going to see this whole area below the arm. So you definitely want to have a significant amount of weathering in areas like this, where even at first glance you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to see that much because it's underneath my arms, but your arms aren't always going to be sitting flat against your body. You're not always going to have that spot here. A lot of times, especially if you have like a weapon that you're holding, and in this case I'm going to have a blaster that you hold with both hands, a lot of this stuff is actually going to be the most visible part of the armor. So it's the next day, and I've gotten a lot of the initial painting dried. It did not end up being that visible on most of it. There's some that's in the areas where I hit it quite a bit, and you can see that, but it definitely is going to need a lot of extra work. So I got my trusty airbrush out here, and I'm just going to start going to town similarly to how we were before. I'm starting with a brown mahogany air color, and I'm just going to hit this first in more generalized areas, just to lay some color down on it, and then I'll come back with a darker, probably black, and just do some additional detail work on it after that. I don't know if you can see it from where we are here, but brown that up quite nicely. This will be a good first pass for this coloration on this, and then I will likely take it outside and beat the crap out of it. And there you have it. With a little bit of rust ease and a whole lot of luck, you too can have your own Mandalorian flight suit. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed seeing me beat up on a jumpsuit.